people might say that they can't imagine Team X could go across the country to play Team Y and get a win in that team stadium when Team Y has this absurdly long winning streak at home. But, I am just here on this Monday afternoon to tell that person, start imagining, because college football in 2025 is unlike anything we've ever seen before. This sport has just been turned on its head, it feels like, and then turned back around and turned again over and over again. I mean, John, we're living in a world, man, where you can go from the number 3 ranked team in the country, coaching that team, to 15 days later be out of a job. It is just absolutely wild. This is College Football Tailgate. I'm Dan Watkins. He's John McKechnie. This is our Week 7 reaction and recap show. John, once again, we're sitting here on a Monday just going, what a weekend.
The best. I mean, this weekend was so good. Huge games. Every single window really had something for everybody. I thought every single, for the noon games, the 3:30, the night games, all fascinating. I mean, even the BYU game was crazy if you were nuts enough on the East Coast to be up at that time of the evening. I was. But before we dive into the meat of the show, I do want to just kind of offer an opening statement.
Okay.
Everyone knows I'm thinking about it, right? It was a touchdown. Kyron Jones ran that fumble back 100 yards and scored. There was no whistle. The Dogs were robbed a touchdown there at the end of the first half. Auburn was not robbed of a touchdown. Hang on to the ball, big fella, and it's a totally different game. But, yeah, I think, we have a lot to unpack with that. The Zapruder film type of analysis on both Auburn and Georgia Twitter all night, Saturday night, and into Sunday. I think I've seen that screenshot of the pixelated. Is that a ball or is that Raylan Wilson's fist 100 times on the timeline already this morning? So that's going to be fun to get into fully. But again, official statement from the CFB Tailgate Pod. That was a touchdown.
Very good. I'm not surprised that is your takeaway from that game Saturday night. That was definitely the only controversial thing going on down there on the plains in Auburn. We will get to that shortly. I think before we get into our full Week 7 recap and start talking about this game, we're going to give a lot of flowers to a few teams. Indiana got some things to say, very impressive over the weekend, but I think we got to start with the big news in the sport, and that is that there is yet another job opening. UAB has a head coach opening. I'm kidding, but I'm not. At the same time, Trent Dilfer has been let go. But no, James Franklin is no longer the head football coach at Penn State. Penn State has lost 3 in a row since they were the number 3 ranked team in the country a couple of weeks ago when they lost at home to Oregon in that whiteout game. Since then, they have gone to UCLA and lost, and then they went back home and they lost to Northwestern, I believe the first team in history to lose outright 2 straight games that they were 20-point favorites in. It just felt like the writing was on the wall here. I mean, I guess this is one of those you cut the cord sooner rather than later. Obviously, the season for Penn State it's done. Drew Aller is also done for the year. Suffered a leg injury there in that game. Just tough all around for Penn State for a year, John. This was supposed to be the year, right? This was supposed to be the year they finally busted through the ceiling and got through and maybe won a national championship, but this game comes at you very, very quickly, and now they are paying James Franklin close to $50 million to not coach their football team.
Yep, everybody says the best job in America is a failed college football coach. It's unreal, and as a result, there are a lot of tweets out there on Sunday, who has the biggest buyout. Lord help me if things ever go sour with Kirby Smart at Georgia, because it's $100 million. For him to not coach right now. So I think the way that you're shaping up, that number is going to come down. He'll be back next year and everything. But holy crap. Although during the first half, you'd be surprised at how many people were saying they're sick of Kirby Smart against Auburn on Saturday night. But yes, ultimately, this Penn State season, I could not have imagined it going worse. Like you said, 15 days, and he went from being the number 3 team in the country to being out. To, we were talking about it basically after the Oregon game, and then absolutely after the UCLA game, where it's the buyout figure gets floated around. Is Penn State really gonna go ahead and do that? Are they gonna be able to do that much better? But when you lose to Northwestern at home as a huge favorite to make it 3 straight, I think you absolutely have to cut the cord and just try to call your boosters and get this buyout funded, because he can't be the coach there anymore. Like it was obvious. And I mean, if they let this play out to the end of the season, not only will they setting themselves back as far as the coaching search goes, but like, dude, you got to feel like the fans were going to get so toxic. Like last year,
Oh yeah.
Ohio State fans were posting Ryan Day's address after the Oregon game. So imagine how much like it was gonna get nutty, I think, in State College if this continued. So you just had to do it if you're Penn State, and it's a bad ending. I think he had an incredible tenure there at Penn State, brought them back to true relevance, but it just felt like they were at that glass ceiling, and then the ceiling got lower and lower and lower with each of these last 3 losses, and ultimately you got to move on. And it does also suck that Drew Aller is out for the year. I think he's going to be out of eligibility too, just because he played. Yeah, so that's it for him. So an already complicated draft stock for him, with the way the season was going, gets a lot more complicated, because you don't know if he's going to be ready for training camp, that type of thing. So feel bad for that kid. I feel like, I think neither of us were the biggest Aller believers necessarily, but
I wasn't. I've been pretty open about it. I mean, I feel horrible for him. Never want to see him get hurt or anything like that. But no, I thought ultimately Drew Aller would be what cost Penn State.
That's right.
A national championship, Big Ten championship, something like that. But no, it was just the entire team. I mean, it's tough all the way around, but like I don't even know what to really point to their biggest issue. I mean, we have kind of like gone through them and like just nitpicked different things the past few weeks, whether it's Nick Singleton and what has happened to him, how he's fallen off here and just been kind of MIA lately. But like we even said, I remember, John, going into that Oregon game that like, yes, they're putting up 40 plus points on these like cupcakes and these tune-up games, but something still just does not look quite right. And I wonder if this was just a team that was just way too much into like reading their own headlines and press clippings and like expecting just thinking that they could just like throw the ball out there and that they would be elite and better than everybody else, because they brought back so much of that team last year that went to that semifinal game.
Right. And I was doing the college football spaces on Saturday night, and my friend brought up the point that it's like, yes, Penn State like was bringing so much back, but at the same time, they lost their best player on both sides of the ball, too, which has obviously proved to be important. Like, Abdul Carter was a total game wrecker, and Tyler Warren was their entire passing game last year, and occasionally the run game as well. So
occasionally the center.
Yeah, so it's as great as it is. I mean, that's one of the big lessons that we've learned this year is as great as returning production looks in August, and it allows you to really talk yourself into stuff. Sometimes, what's not coming back is going to end up being extremely important, and other times, what is back, progress isn't linear. Like it's not a guarantee that just because they're coming back for another year of college football that they're going to just continue to get better. And like they made the semifinal last year, that must mean they're going to make the final. Obviously, not the case.
Right. Yeah, these are still kids at the end of the day. And I think that's been kind of my big takeaway through 7 weeks here as we've been doing this show, is that next summer when we do our previews, I think I might just turn off the recording if either one of us mentions returning production. I might just have to stop it. Nope, we're starting over. Like we cannot, I don't even want to talk about returning production at this point, because it's just, this season has been bananas. It's been awesome. I've loved every second of it. I can't wait to see how this is going to play out. I really don't have the slightest idea how this is going to play out, because, well, I thought that, eventually a team like Indiana would hit their ceiling, like going across the country to play Oregon and Dan Lanning and that squad. Oregon with an 18-game home winning streak. Boy, oh boy, was I wrong, John. Indiana 30, Oregon 20. That's your final from Eugene. And as you put in our rundown, just a thorough victory across the board for Indiana. I mean, shout out to Coach Sig, man. Like, no one is getting more out of his roster than Curt Cignetti is right now. I believe I saw the stat they have 1 5-star, 3 4-stars, and the rest of the team is all 3-star recruits going against a team in Oregon that is loaded in 4 and 5-star talent. Like, I think Indiana is the best coached team in the country right now, and I don't really know how you argue that with what he is getting out of his lineup on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, it's remarkable. I mean, that's such a huge statement win for them. Crazy environment, of course, and it's a close game. And I think one of like the sequences of the entire season was what happened after the pick six. You know, Mendoza throws that, and it's like, okay, maybe, you know, like this is going to be the inflection point where Oregon starts to lean on them, and you know, we're going to see Oregon escape with the victory there. But they just bounce right back, a 12-play, 75-yard touchdown drive that eats up 6 minutes in the fourth quarter. Then they pick off Dante Moore. Then they chew up some more clock and kick the field goal to go up 2 scores, and it's game blouses. I mean, a lesser team wilts in that particular spot. Like you throw the pick six, you're on the road, like things are going totally sideways for you, and you just completely steel yourself and you just go on this death march down the field, get the touchdown, take the air right out of the building in Autzen. Insane stuff from them. Elijah Surratt, I think, is a Biletnikoff award candidate. He's been amazing. Omar Cooper's also been really good. Mendoza, obviously, running that offense extremely well. So that plus, their linebacking core just gets after you, and Pons is a lot of fun to watch at defensive back. So it's crazy because they are just kind of flying in the face of conventional wisdom in modern college football, where you need the blue chip ratio to
right.
get it done. But with the way that Sig has just brought in the right transfers and gotten the most out of them, like I don't think that we can give like Indiana the aw shucks look at them anymore, because they go into Oregon and win that game, and they win it decisively, 98% post-game win expectancy. Yeah, there's no like Cinderella to this anymore.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but when I'm watching that game Saturday afternoon, and I'm just going, okay, like Oregon's going to turn this on now, right? Like this has been a fun first half, like cute story Indiana, but like, okay, Oregon's going to pull away now, right? Like this is coming, and I thought with that pick six, it was like, okay, here we go, but it's just like the other shoe never dropped for Oregon, and it kind of felt like they were just expecting that Indiana wasn't going to be able to hang with them. Like they were that much more talented. And I know I've been getting kind of blasted in some of our comments about my comment about that Oregon's a much more talented team. I stick by that. Like I absolutely stand by that Oregon is a more talented football team than Indiana. I mean, just look at the two rosters. Like that's not what I'm getting at. Indiana is a much better coach team right now. And I never thought I would see Dan Lanning get out coached like that, like he did Saturday afternoon. I want to shout out the Indiana defense in particular. They held Oregon to just 267 total yards of offense. They forced 2 interceptions from Dante Moore. They snapped that 18-game home winning streak. They snapped Oregon's 23-game regular season winning streak. This Oregon offense, man, it just like kind of discombobulated, couldn't really get going. Just 13 total points on offense for the Ducks at home. Like, in what world does that happen? They only had one drive, John, that went more than 60 yards on Saturday, which is also crazy to think about. 2.7 yards per carry, and Moore finishes with just 186 passing yards. So just the Indiana defense, man, shout out to them. They were dominant on Saturday, and they were the better unit on Saturday. They were. Now, if we see these two teams meet again, I'm probably going to take Oregon again, but hey, you never know. Anyway, just shout out to Indiana, though. They were awesome, and they absolutely deserved that win, without a doubt.
Big time. I mean, that was awesome. It's one of the wins of the year, of course, and you know, now that the schedule kind of opens up for them, we'll get into that a little bit more later. But I feel like, you know, this is an Indiana team that is absolutely rolling right now. I mean, like the metrics love this Indiana team. I think SP Plus has them as like the number 3 overall team in the country right now.
Yeah, and it's hard to argue. I mean, even with the old school eye test, what you're seeing from them right now, and they should absolutely, if they're not in Indianapolis come championship Saturday, something very bad went wrong for Indiana. They absolutely are in the driver's seat to get to the Big Ten championship game and most likely return to the playoff as well. I think it's like minus 2,200 or something like that at this point for Indiana to make the playoff, which is tied with I think Miami right now for like the top spot across the board. All right, moving on. Let's head down to Texas, the State Fair. In Texas, the Longhorns, John, finally get going a little bit in that second half. They pull away. They beat Oklahoma 23-6. The big story going into this game was John Mateer's status. Was he going to play? Obviously, he broke that bone in his thumb a few weeks ago. He wasn't expected to be back, but he ultimately does suit up. And we were texting a little bit about this during the day. He just did not look right whatsoever to me. It kind of looked like he was shot putting the football. Anytime he did try to put the ball down the field, the one play that really sticks out is when he tried to throw that like 25, 30-yard pass into the end zone and got picked. Like, it was short. And I'm like wondering, like, did he rush himself back here to get back for this game, to play Texas and all that? Like, it didn't look right. And then ultimately, like, the Oklahoma offense, they still couldn't run the ball. Texas's defense looks much better. I thought Arch looked a little more calm this week than he had in weeks past. Just sacked one time compared to the 6 against Florida. And it really was just like, if you're an Oklahoma fan, you got to almost have like a sour taste in your mouth. Like, did we screw up this process going into this game? Because, like, you wrote this, you texted me this, I believe, as well. Like, Hawkins probably should have saw the field at some point, right?
Yeah. I think if I'm an OU fan, I'm a little bit mad at Venables because no one knows the status of Mateer other than Mateer better than Venables, and seeing him in practice and everything this week. How do you make that determination that he was going to be able to go against this Texas defense? I know the Texas defense let down against Florida, but still, that's going to be what carries them the rest of the season, for better or for worse, is that Texas defense. And Hawkins, he filled in a lot last year and got you the win, or helped get you the win against Alabama, and gets his feet wet last week against I think it was like Kent State or something. So it's like, he could just let him play caretaker, because you're almost like doing a disservice to Mateer. And I know that Mateer was pushing and to get into this game and to start to get himself off the injury report. Like, amazing stuff from him. Like, total just onions. I mean, my friend. My friend texted me during the game, like, Mateer's is playing with a hardware store in his thumb right now. It's crazy what he was playing through. But if you're Oklahoma, like, and especially, like, you had a lot of sample during this game to be like, okay, we got to try something else, because this clearly isn't working. Like, Mateer was not Mateer, like, at all. So ultimately, like, that you just played right into Texas's hands, and Texas, took advantage of it. Like, you can't take anything away from the Horns in this one. I mean, they dominated, 94% post-game win expectancy. So, I mean, that's a pretty, thorough statement that Texas had that one. But yeah, I think if I'm Oklahoma, especially with the way that the rest of the schedule shapes up, I would have tried to, in the way that Texas was going, having lost to Florida like that, I don't think I would have just stuck with Mateer all game. I think that Venables, deserves a little bit of criticism for the way that he handled that game.
Yeah, so ultimately John Mateer finishes 20 of 38, 202 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and as we've kind of been talking about, just did not look right there whatsoever. This Oklahoma offense, like, now it's like those issues, like, you take the magnifying glass to it after you get this big-time spotlight game against Texas, and it's just like they can't really run the ball. Their defense is still very, very good, don't get me wrong, but shout out to the Texas offensive line. I thought they bounced back big time in this one after that kind of disaster down there in the swamp a couple weeks ago. Arch sacked just one time. I thought Arch did a really good job, John, in the second half, just kind of taking what the defense gave him. Like, I thought He wasn't really looking for that home run play on Saturday, and I thought that made a big difference with this offense, where it kind of like start to build some confidence there going forward. And then the other thing, too, with the Longhorns, having Wisner back in the backfield is huge for them. He had a really nice day, 94 yards on the ground. So I think that's some positive things there for the Texas offense to take and go forward with this, as their schedule keeps ramping up here down the stretch too. And then the defense, yes, they were going against a, to put it nicely, limited quarterback, but they looked much more like what we were expecting Texas's defense to look like this season.
100%. Like that's a Texas defense that again, I think is going to be like the carrying force for them the rest of the way. I think like you said, like it's a positive development from Arch, because there were so many times the first month and a half of the season where he drops back and like, he's looking for the kill shot, but he can't execute whatsoever. So just playing a little bit more within himself, I think, is going to go a long way, and especially if that run game and the offensive line continue to get better. Still kind of waiting to see what's going to be up with C.J. Baxter and Wisner. Like, great game. Worried about the hamstring. Anytime a running back is playing through a hamstring, you get a little bit concerned about a re-aggravation. But for now, I mean, you're getting to wear the golden sombrero, baby. Like, good for you, Texas.
Yeah, and I believe they have not allowed a touchdown to Oklahoma the last 2 times they played, and I think 3 out of the last 4 as well. So really good there for the Texas defense as they try to build some momentum and progress through their season. All right, let's get to this Georgia-Auburn game. So Georgia escapes from the Plains with a 20-10 victory here, John. At halftime, the Dogs were down 10-3. And I'm texting you, and I'm just going, so is this what Georgia's going to do this year? They're just going to play to the level of competition every single week? And then we saw something I have never seen in all of my years watching football. Kirby Smart calling a timeout, saying, no, he didn't call a timeout. He was clapping, and basically just bullied the referee into giving them the timeout back. Now, if you look, go do yourself a favor if you don't know what I'm talking about or you weren't watching this game very closely. Just go to Twitter and search Kirby Smart timeout. It is one of the most absurd 45 seconds you're ever going to see on a football field. Now, Kirby's trying to say that the defensive back is clapping, which if you do zoom out, the defensive back is clapping. But Kirby also is clearly going timeout, running down the sideline, and the ref just gave him the timeout back, which was with 1 second left on the play clock. Stockton's about to pick up a delay of game. Just an absurd, chaotic sequence there at Jordan-Hare. Georgia does eventually pull away and win this game by 10 points. They cover the 3.5 if you were on the Dogs there. But, like, I don't know. How are you feeling right now, man? Like, the football, your football team, like, there's a lot to talk about, I feel like, with Georgia.
I feel great.
Good. Yeah, win's a win, right? Moving on.
Beating Auburn is always fun. They've done it 9 times in a row. They've only lost to Auburn 3 times since I enrolled at the University of Georgia, and one of those was the Cam Newton year. So Cam beat everybody. But other than that, it was like the prayer at Jordan-Hare. And the 2017, they beat the crap out of Jake Fromm and company, but Georgia got them back in the SEC championship game. But about this game. It was worst case Ontario to quote Ricky from Trailer Park Boys in the first half. Like we talked about it going into the week, into the season, that Auburn was going to be a team that much better than years past, the best team that Freeze has had. I think that they could play giant killer to one of Georgia or Bama, and it was looking that way. I mean, they just completely dominated time of possession in the first half. 130 rushing yards in the first half, knocking on the door of going up 17-0 on Georgia, like just completely having the defense not only on their heels, but completely gassed too. I mean, you run that many plays, a defense like any defense is going to get tired, especially a Georgia one that can't get itself off the field. Then Arnold goes for the goal line dive, and it gets punched out, and Georgia recovers it and runs it back for a touchdown. But then it just opens up this giant can of worms. Everyone's zooming in. It's as pixelated as it can be. Is that the ball? Is that somebody's hand? What is going on right there? Are we going to draw a poorly drawn squiggly line to demarcate where the goal line is? And is the ball over it? I didn't think that he had possession of the ball going over the goal line. I think it had been punched out since in that process. I mean, it was as bang as it gets. But I think that Auburn fans are justified in being mad at how that went, because it was such a huge swing. Instead of being up 17-0, you are only up 10-3 going into halftime. But it doesn't excuse your second half collapse. You had 10 rushing yards in the second half alone. And according to AL.com, they had some great stats coming out of this game. Jackson Arnold's average depth of throw is 6.1 in this game. So that's just a complete lack of trust that this guy can get the ball down the field, which is doubly frustrating when you have Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton as your top pass catchers. Like, those guys are legit, and you have a quarterback that can't hit the broadside of the barn with those guys. So the offensive coordinator clearly doesn't trust Arnold, and it was good continuity between all three of Auburn's play callers. First, second, or third down didn't matter. They were not going to let Arnold throw the ball down the field. Georgia's defense really stepped up in the second half. That they did that against Alabama too, of course, but it was a little bit too little, too late. But this Georgia defense, I think they have to be feeling confident.
C.J. Allen especially.
Man, yeah, he needed a game like that because he came into the season with like all the Dick Butkus award hype and hadn't really shown it whatsoever. Wearing number 3, like Roquan, and not playing even remotely like Roquan, that was rubbing some fans the wrong way. But he showed out. I think he was Defensive Player of the Week in the SEC. And Stockton, I thought the numbers might not say it, but I thought that he looked really good, especially when Georgia was pretty much, Auburn shut down the Georgia ground game for the most part. Like, nobody was really running a ton. I don't know what happened to Bowens. I don't feel like he touched the ball in the second half, so I got to see what's up with that. But Stockton just, he executed anytime that it was needed, and then of course like the big dive into the end zone to kind of put the game away was an awesome moment. So Stockton is the least of Georgia's problems, which is something that I would have paid a lot of money to be saying in August coming into this year. I was very, very dubious on him. I thought that I drew a line in the sand that Ryan Puglisi would be taking over after the Alabama game if that one went the wrong way, but Stockton is not the problem with Georgia. And I thought that there was a lot of word eating for Georgia fans, generally speaking. Like Glenn Schumann, everyone was crapping on Glenn Schumann, myself included. And I called him Hen Pooman because he's chicken crap.
Burn.
And I got him. and Mike Bozo. But Bobo in the second half had it dialed up. I thought that he was sequencing things beautifully. Still far too many wide receiver screens for my liking, but occasionally it gets blocked really well, and Zach Branch can do some damage that way. So
right.
All of this to say, good win for the Dogs. They escaped with a win at Jordan-Hare. I was very, very worried about that game. Got it done. Now you got game day at home against an Ole Miss team that just played around with Wazoo this weekend. Almost got burned for the way that they were doing that, but sets up an amazing Week 8 matchup against Ole Miss.
Absolutely. One other thing about Stockton and the Georgia offense that I did want to ask you, and I don't know, maybe this just because I was flipping back and forth between a couple of different games, but it felt like every time I did click on the Georgia game, like it felt to me like he was trying to force the ball down the field to Delp a little too much in this game. I don't have the targets for Delp in front of me. I know he only finished with 2 catches, but I don't know. I kept in my head, I'm thinking of that game. I think it was 2 years ago at Auburn, where basically Georgia's offense just turned into get Brock Bowers the football, and he's going to carry us in the fourth quarter. And it almost felt like with the way that game was going, that they were like, okay, can we do this again with Oscar Delp? Can we pull this game out this way? And I don't know. It just felt to me like they were just trying a little too hard to force the ball to him, where yeah, I know they weren't running the ball well, but maybe there was some other stuff they could have gotten going as well too.
Right. Let's see. So in Delp's case, it worked really well against Kentucky. So I think they wanted to see if they could get that, working week over week, because I do think that Delp is really talented. I think they need to get him more involved. So I think it made sense that way. London Humphreys is just he's third in Renfro. It's crazy. Anytime that Georgia needed a first down, they would just have London Humphreys go sit down in the zone and pick it up. And then a lot of Georgia fans have been clamoring about Noah Thomas, the transfer from A&M, who's basically been invisible the entirety of the season, had the huge 30-yard catch in this one. So I do wonder if he's going to start getting himself into the mix a little bit more, but it's a little bit tough because you can't really bench Colby Young. So Colby Young is the X. Noah Thomas is an X. Maybe you get him playing the field side, and that kind of maximizes what you've got as far as your receiving core loadout. But there's always too much Cash Jones. Cash Jones almost had a really devastating penalty, or he did have a devastating penalty, but obviously Georgia was able to overcome it. And I thought it was kind of a ticky-tack call. I thought he just kind of blocked the guy onto his bum, but they called him for a blindside and negated a big gain. I think it was on a third down, but I'm not a Cash Jones guy, but no Georgia guy, sorry.
Fair enough. Yeah, so this does set up a huge, huge game in Athens. Game day is going to be there on Saturday, as John mentioned. Ole Miss, Georgia. That must-see TV. That's, I believe, in the 3:30 window on Saturday. Right. We will be breaking that one down in depth on our Thursday show. And that reminds me, guys, if you are watching right now, do us a favor and make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel at College Football Tailgate. Hit that like button on the video as well. It helps us out as we continue to try to grow this thing. So make sure you're subscribed or follow on Spotify and Apple if you're listening to the podcast version. We are at College Football Tailgate on both of those platforms too. You can follow us on Twitter at CFB Tailgate 25, and you can also follow us on TikTok where a lot of the fun happens in the comments there at CFB Tailgate. So once again, just hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're subscribed. It helps us out big time. Doesn't cost you a thing as we continue to try to grow this thing as we go throughout the season here. And if you have any friends, significant others, family members that like college football and need a little more college football in their life, hey, tell them about the show. Tell a friend to tell a friend. It always helps us out. All right, back to the game recaps and reaction. Let's stay in the SEC. Let's talk about Alabama and Mizzou. So Bama beats Mizzou 27-24 on the road. This game ends up pushing at that 3-point spread number there. But anyways, John, Alabama just kind of hangs on here at the end to win. I thought Ty Simpson was really good once again, going 23 of 31, 3 touchdowns, overcomes a fumble there in the middle of the game, but he is now your Heisman co-favorite with Carson Beck at plus 350. Fernando Mendoza, I believe, is right behind them at 550, and then there's a huge drop-off, so it looks like we're starting to see a 3-horse race here towards the finish line for the Heisman. But Ty Simpson, not my big takeaway from this game. My big takeaway from this game was the Alabama defense, especially late. Stepping up big time in the fourth quarter, forcing 2 interceptions from Bo Pribula and also getting Missouri to turn the ball over and getting a huge 4th down stop there in this one as well. So I think if you're looking at Alabama as a potential national championship contender, that has to have you feeling inspired here going forward that the defense is starting to play really well. They're still allowing a lot of rushing yards, and they're kind of getting gashed in the run game. I do have my questions and concerns if that's eventually going to catch up to them. But right now, Bama, it feels like, has really mastered that bend, don't break defense kind of approach here. And they're getting key turnovers. And Simpson's been carrying them on offense, which has just been great to see for anybody that's a big fan of that kid.
Yeah, Simpson is amazing. And Bama, going to just be one of those teams at the end. Like, I feel like I'll be surprised if they don't make it to at least the semifinal with the way that they're playing and just the way that Simpson, despite being a first-year starter, is so poised. I mean, Mizzou comes out, scores on that opening drive, and you're like, oh, this is going to be a battle here. And Alabama didn't necessarily play its A game, on offense, but Simpson had the 3 touchdowns, of course, but only 200 passing yards from Simpson. But again, when it comes to this kid, he has a feel for the moment that's as good as any quarterback in college football right now. Everyone's going to remember that 4th down conversion, but I think another kind of sneaky play was the one that set that one up because they were at 3rd and 24, backed, up close to midfield, dumps it off to Kevin Riley, 16 yards, so it gets them up to the 38-yard line. That's where that's like the best place to go for it on 4th down because if you punt, you're a coward, and if you kick a field goal, you're opening yourself up to a miss or any sort of other, tragic thing that can happen to you. But they were like, we trust Simpson in this particular spot, and he hits that like 29-yard pass. That was just perfection. That was just such like a stake through the heart of that Missouri team. I know they had the ball late with a chance to win, but the defense, like you said, they bent, but they didn't break, and they made the big plays when they needed to. Also, concerning for a guy like me, Latsier Brooks, like I'd never heard of that guy. Just some freshman, but he is sick. He's going to be a problem here for Alabama or for anyone going up against Alabama. And I got to say, on the Mizzou side, Kevin Coleman largely shut out in this game. I think he got a little bit dinged up, but they have this guy, Donovan Olubade. That guy's a beast, too. I looked him up. He was the number 77 overall player in this year's recruiting cycle. I think the number 11 receiver. Looks like Mizzou has a guy that's going to kind of blossom here down the stretch and give them a second option in that passing game beyond Coleman. They were arguably a little bit too reliant on Coleman, but Olubade, I thought, looked really, really good on Saturday. And like you said, on the Alabama rushing defense front, Mizzou did kind of do what they wanted to do on the ground. I think they wanted to get Ahmad Hardy more carries. I mean, only 12 is not like a really winning formula for them when it comes to Hardy, but overall,
game script too. You're trailing late in the second half. That's obviously going to take the ball out of his hands.
100%. But I think between Pribula and Hardy, like that's still one of the most dangerous rushing attacks in college football from the QB/RB position.
Yeah, I do think, Missouri fans, you should be feeling pretty good about the state of your program right now. Like, this was kind of supposed to be a down year for Mizzou, and they basically just went toe-to-toe with Alabama for the most part there. Yes, ultimately, they come up short. I thought Bo Pribula had a very gutsy game, but ultimately he made a couple of big mistakes there at the end of the game. They just couldn't quite get that final score that they needed there to go and take this game. But I think you should, if you're a Missouri fan, I think you should be sitting here feeling, okay, like we're in really good hands with Eli Drinkowitz as our head coach. If you didn't already feel that way, you should definitely feel that way, I think, right now on this Monday, that he's going to have you in the right direction and just put quality football players out on the field and put out a quality product for you going forward. One concern with Alabama, I do think going forward here, Jam Miller believed he suffered a concussion in this game in the fourth quarter, got knocked out of the game. John, I think Alabama needs him. Like, if they're going to ultimately achieve any of their goals or get close to their goals, like this rushing offense is still ranked 103rd in the country right now. Like, they can't really run the ball. He has definitely given that a jolt the past few weeks since he's been back. But man, like without him, like that just puts more and more on Ty Simpson's shoulders. And like ultimately, we both seem to be very, very high on Ty Simpson. But as you get further and further into this SEC schedule, you don't want to become too one-dimensional. Like that's just a recipe for disaster and not being able to achieve what you want to achieve.
There is something that might be able to make them feel better. I don't know where this guy's been all year, but they just have a 240-pound running back that gets them the conversions when they need it. I forget what that kid's name is, but I felt like, especially down the stretch in that game after Jam Miller went out, they were just like, oh yeah, we just have Eddie Lacy. Sorry, forgot about him. But Daniel Hill is his name.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a big boy. Not
to tackle. The way you set that up. And this is something that I've been like kind of workshopping with, trying to figure out if we can make this into a segment. I thought you were just going to be just basically just come out and say, well, if they need to pick something up, they can just hand the ball to Caden Proctor, because he lined up in the backfield. He had a carry. We've seen him out at wide receiver. So now, John, I'm like, we got to like workshop some sort of game here with like, where will Caden Proctor line up next? Like, we've seen him at wide receiver. We've seen him at running back. Like, should Tennessee and Josh Heupel be on alert for Caden Proctor to throw a pass this weekend? Like, I think that's like, you got to put him in the Wildcat next, right?
Yeah, they're showing the looks as a dangerous runner. Let's see a little Caden Proctor pop pass, and Heupel might just like burst into flames on the field if that happens. Oh,
that'd be incredible. That would just be absolutely incredible if we saw like a Caden Proctor, almost like a Caden Proctor 2-yard line Tim Tebow jump throw. I would love to see the elevation he gets, for one. Got to see that vertical. But two, like that would just be wild if Caden Proctor threw a touchdown pass. There's got to be some sports book out there that's like offering like pass attempts Caden Proctor at like 0.5. Might be worth a little sprinkle there going into that game against Tennessee this weekend. All right, so we're going to keep moving on here. We got Monday Cope, Monday Smoke. We're going to do a little Contender Pretender in a few minutes as well, but I do want to hit on a couple of these other games, John. I just want to talk about Texas A&M and Florida here. The Aggies pull away with that 34-17 victory. This game was tied 14-14 at the end of the first quarter. And then, Texas A&M just pulls away. I got to read the Florida drive chart from the second quarter on. So here you go, folks. So this game is tied 14-14 at this point. These are Florida's possessions from the second quarter until the end of the game. Punt, 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 fumble, field goal, hey, punt, turnover on downs, fumble, end of game. Started out with a really nice script there for Florida, but ultimately the offense just completely goes in a shell and they can't do anything, can't move the ball. Brent McMurphy tweets out that Billy Napier is now 0-14 against ranked teams on the road as the head coach at Florida. Just tough there. They hung around for a little bit. It looked like they carried that momentum from the Texas win for at least, 15 minutes. But ultimately, Texas A&M pulls away and, I don't know, I'm really high on the Aggies right now. Like, they're just answering every single every single test they have. Marcel Reed kind of looked like a magician back there. Florida could not get much pressure on him at all. So it was an impressive kind of statement like win there for Texas A&M on Saturday night.
Yeah, the Aggies are good, man. Like I don't know who, if it's vocal out there, but probably like Texas fans and Oklahoma fans are not really like jiving with what's going on with the Aggies. But I think as a neutral observer, I'm very impressed by them. To give you a little snapshot on my Saturday night. So as halftime rolls around in the Georgia game and I'm in absolute hell, I've like flip over to the A&M Florida game and Marcel Reed throws a pick in the end zone and I'm like, oh no, it's getting worse. Like I can't have this. But ultimately A&M able to take care of business there. And I still stand by what I said when it comes to Napier. Like I still think it's one more statement win saves his job potentially. But the way that game ended and just the way that they were just not effective for 75% of the game. The seat is definitely like, I don't mean to say that he's not on the hot seat. I still think he can pull it out of the fire, but yeah, the temperature cranked back up after this one for sure, after kind of cooling it off a bit with that Texas win.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. One other game that I do want to hit on just because of some of the commentary that's been going on in social media afterwards. USC beats Michigan 31-13. Michigan was ranked 15th going into this one. USC with a nice, thorough win across the board there, but I think some people are getting a little too far ahead of themselves. Some of the more national, big-time voices like one Colin Cowherd, who I do love Colin, but he tweets out Saturday night, maybe after one small cocktail, I don't know, a reminder to cold weather Big Ten teams. This point forward, when you come to LA to play the Trojans, 1, enjoy the weather. 2, you will be soundly beaten. 3, understand this is the new normal. Rinse and repeat. # fight on. And I just got to say, Colin, my man, your team just like, I know you love USC, you love Lincoln Riley, but like beating a freshman quarterback like is something you're supposed to do when you're the home team there. And Lincoln Riley, as we know, this team is so two-faced, and there are two sides of the coin there with this USC team, that they look really good at home. Mayava was awesome. This redshirt freshman or walk-on freshman or whatever was excellent Saturday night at the running back position, by the way. His name's escaping me at the moment.
His name is cool. It's King Miller.
King Miller. Great name. Yeah, absolutely incredible name. But, like, let's not act like this was the Michigan team from 2 years ago that you just beat by a couple scores. Let's see what you do this weekend. I'm starting to, like, getting really juiced up for this Notre Dame-USC game this week, if you can't tell. USC has not beaten Notre Dame since Caleb Williams won the Heisman a few years ago. Lincoln Riley is just 9-8 straight up on the road as the Trojans head coach. So, like, I got to see USC do a lot more before I am like thoroughly convinced that they're just going to soundly beat teams and expect that. Now, we were on USC to cover in this game, which did come through for us. But, yeah, like USC, they're definitely like things are moving in the right direction again. But let's like slow down and pump the brakes. And any like you're going to soundly beat any big-time Big Ten team from cold weather that comes in. Like if Ohio State was to go into the Coliseum right now, I don't think that we'd get that tweet from Mr. Cowherd on Saturday night.
No, that probably ends up being a bigger spread than what Ohio State was when they went out to Washington. I would think so.
Yeah, that was like 9.5. I would think that'd probably be closer to 2 touchdowns.
The spin zone of that is so awesome, where it's like you're the team that plays in like the soft, nice environment, and you're like, yeah, good luck, you're gonna be in hell. It's like no. Like I feel like
welcome to the Thunderdome.
Yeah, it's just like. No, that's not how it works. You go to South Bend with a slight chill in the air like this weekend and win, and then maybe I'm going to start giving you a little bit more respect. But
sure,
Michigan, I do kind of have my eyebrow raised about them. Like I wonder if they pick up another loss or two. Sharon Moore, I just wonder how wedded they are to him ultimately. But I'm not saying that there's a lot of coaches on hotter seats than Sharon, but. I am wondering if he's going to be like the guy to kind of like bridge the gap in the post-Harbaugh era.
Yeah, I agree too. I think it just depends on how much they like him with Underwood in that marriage going forward. That's what I would say there about that one. But let's move on here. Let's keep moving. We're moving at a good pace, so let's keep it going here. We're going to skip Grill It or Chill It this week, and we're going to do a little Contender Pretender because, well, we're halfway through the season. at this point. And I got 5 teams, John, that I really want to talk about here and see how we feel about them going forward, if they're a legit national title contender or not here. So let's jump right in. Contender or pretender? Indiana at 6-0, their remaining schedule. They have Michigan State and UCLA at home. They go to Maryland, to Penn State, have Wisconsin at home, and then they finish up on the road at Purdue.
Yeah, so that all adds up to the 52nd toughest schedule remaining on the board. I like Indiana's chances against like the 10th hardest schedule remaining. So 52nd, I mean, it's kind of a cakewalk from here. Where do they lose? I mean, UCLA is frisky, but that one's going to be in Bloomington. Maryland's falling apart all of a sudden, so like that looks better. Penn State, obviously, in its own circle of hell, joined, of course, by Wisconsin. So I think Indiana goes undefeated here and is 12-0 going to the Big Ten championship game. I think they probably lose that one against Ohio State, I would imagine. But yeah, this is an absolutely a contender. Like they'll be, I would envision them being one of the higher at-large bids that we get this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Indiana is a contender. 1, they are the best coached team in the country right now. And 2, they have one of the best quarterbacks in the country as well in Fernando Mendoza. ESPN, their playoff predictor, had a 93% chance to make the playoff. Only Ohio State is higher right now. This schedule sets up so nicely for them. They can even go to the Big Ten championship game, John, lose to Ohio State and still get a bye. Like, that's how this is set up now going forward. So, yeah, Indiana, absolutely a contender. I expect them to make a bit of a playoff run here too, just with how good Cignetti's been there as their head coach.
Yep, they're awesome. They're contenders. Our TikTok listeners, I swear to God, like we're good. We respect you now.
Yeah, we respect you. Absolutely. How about the team, though, that Indiana just beat? Oregon, John, they're 5-1 now. The remaining schedule at Rutgers this week. Then they have Wisconsin at home. Then they have to go to Iowa. And then they get both Minnesota, USC at Autzen. And they end the season at Washington, which we know is always a tricky spot there. ESPN's predictor has them at a 64% chance of making the playoff. But I'll ask you, contender or pretender, the Oregon Ducks?
I still think they're a contender. They only got beat by one of the best teams in the country,
right.
So I mean, it's definitely not a bad loss. I don't really see an L on their schedule the rest of the way. I mean, getting USC at home, I think, is a key detail there. You clearly don't want to go to LA, like right. Obviously. I mean, you're just signing yourself up for misery. So we're looking at 64% playoff predictor. I give them probably a 7 out of 10 chance to make it. I'll be pretty surprised if Oregon's left out of the top 12. And I mean, the way that the schedule does set up, though, like you can't mess around. Like going to Rutgers, you can't screw around. That's just going to be like a weird environment where like you don't want to get caught slipping. Like I know Rutgers is pretty bad, but ultimately just can't screw around with that. And in terms of like what the whole package looks like for Oregon, SP Plus still loves them. Number 5 offense, number 7 defense. So I mean they're still legit. They lost that game. But I still think that Oregon's very good. I think that we'll be seeing them in December.
Yeah, I think they'll bounce back off the mat. I'm going contender as well. I think there's too much talent here. I really like how Dante Moore had played this season up until this game against Indiana. Lanning will bounce back. He'll rein it in. He'll use this as motivation. I fully expect Oregon to be there towards the end of the season, probably have a home playoff game this year as well. So, yeah, Oregon, absolutely a contender. There's too much talent there, and the schedule sets up nicely. They don't have to play Ohio State. Couple little tricky road spots there. As you mentioned, Rutgers could get a little wonky. Iowa on the road could get a little wonky too. But if Oregon's 10-1 going into that Washington game, I think this sets up really nicely for the Ducks. All right, moving on. How about Texas? John, the Longhorns, 4-2. Their remaining schedule: at Kentucky, at Mississippi State, home against Vanderbilt, at Georgia, and then they end the season with 2 home games against Arkansas and Texas A&M. ESPN has their playoff predictor, their playoff percentage chances as just 34% right now. They are actually plus money to make the playoff. But Texas, contender or pretender?
Pretender. Congratulations. You beat a quarterback with one hand, and it wasn't his throwing hand. Like he just was playing without that all day Saturday afternoon. Like the defense, I do believe in it, but you look at that remaining schedule, it ranks 15th in terms of strength of schedule. I'm setting the line at 2.5 for more losses for Texas the rest of the way. I think that they're going to lose at least 2, and I think potentially 3.
You think 7 and 5's on the table for Texas?
I absolutely do.
My goodness!
I think that Miss State could beat them in Starkville. Shout out to our guys there. Vanderbilt's going to be tough. They got to go to Georgia. You got to play A&M. I think you're losing at least 2 more games and potentially 3. So that win doesn't move me, Texas. I'm sorry.
It moves me. I'm going to say Contender. I think there's too much talent here with this Texas team. This defense is legit, and as long as the defense shows up every single week, I think that's going to give Arch time to keep figuring things out. I think he might have started to figure some stuff out against Oklahoma. I really liked how he played in that second half, just taking what the defense gives him, not trying to force the ball down the field there, and getting Wisner back in the backfield is huge for them too, and having him kind of going at full speed. So I'll say Contender. I'd take a little taste at Texas plus money to make the playoff right now. I don't think that's a terrible bet. Yeah, just 34% of a chance to make it, though, according to ESPN's playoff predictor. This schedule is brutal. But, yeah, Texas is going to have to round things into shape. And, yeah, that schedule is tough. But if they can go into Georgia and pull off a win there in Athens, then I think the hype train is going to be right back on track there with Texas.
I don't think they're going to do that. I think Georgia's going to mush Texas, but that's a conversation for next month, I suppose.
I mean, depending on how many timeouts Georgia gets to. I mean, we got to factor that in, but you know. All right, how about the team that Texas just beat, John? Oklahoma sitting at 5-1 right now at the midway point. Their remaining schedule at South Carolina, home against Ole Miss, at Tennessee, at Bama, home Mizzou, home LSU to close things out. Just a 24% chance of making the playoff according to ESPN. You can find the Sooners right now at plus 240 to get into the playoff. Contender or pretender?
Pretender. I think that schedule is too hard, and they're a team that I've kind of wrestled with throughout the course of this season. It was always, they're talented, they got John Mateer, they've got a great defense, but the schedule is such a gauntlet, and you lose that game to Texas, and you know, when is it going to be a given that Mateer's thumb is going to be back to 100%? I don't know if it's any time particularly soon here. So you go to South Carolina, and then that ending flourish is insane as far as a gauntlet is concerned. I'm looking at 8-4 for this Oklahoma team right now. The defense is really the only thing that can save them, and Mateer kind of magically getting his thumb back to fully functional. But I think you continue to make a great point about their inability to get anything going on the ground, and I think the offense just kind of one-dimensional. So they had a great start to the season. They obviously put Michigan in a blender, everything like that. But this ending sequence for them, I think it's all the optimism and good feelings that Oklahoma was having going into last weekend are going to be pretty much gone by the time we get to mid-November.
Yeah, it was a very nice month of September there for Sooner Nation, but I'm going Pretender big time for everything you just said. Total gauntlet of a schedule down the stretch here to close things out. You want to set a number for losses, 3.5 might not be crazy at this point.
Right.
Quarterback is banged up, maybe more banged up than we know. They might have just tried to rush him back. Who knows there? But if they can't pass the ball, this is an offense that already struggles to run the ball. And, yeah, against these defenses and these teams where you're going to have to put up some points, I really don't like it for Oklahoma and how this thing shapes up here. So this is a team that I think 2026 is when their window really opens. And Mateer does have another year of eligibility. Maybe he comes back and you got a little bit of a softer schedule next year that you can really work with. But this thing is just a total gauntlet down the stretch.
Yeah, I don't like their chances against most of these teams. I could see them being underdogs in 4 of these remaining games, something like that. It's gonna be tough.
Yeah, they're a slight favorite, I think, at South Carolina, right?
That's not an overly ringing endorsement. South Carolina is not good. Sorry, everybody that followed me on that one. We were close, but we didn't quite get there. But
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to just say, let's just talk about the team that South Carolina just lost to. The LSU Tigers, 5-1 right now. John, remaining schedule at Vandy, where they're underdogs, by the way. Home against Texas A&M, at Alabama, versus Arkansas, versus Western Kentucky, and they close out the season at Oklahoma. ESPN has them at a 32% chance of making the playoff right now. You can find them at plus 200. Contender or pretender, the LSU Tigers.
They're also pretenders, paper tigers, as it were. I think Tigers. Okay, so that remaining strength of schedule ranks 6th. That's tough. I don't think Brian Kelly's a great coach. I don't think that their offense is all that good. Their offense is number 45 according to SP Plus. He scored 20 points or something against South Carolina at home at night over the weekend. So that doesn't move the needle much for me. They sort of are just Cajun Oklahoma, like their defense, or Cajun Texas. Like they're good on defense. The offense leaves a lot to be desired. People were even crapping on the environment at LSU on Saturday. Like a lot of people make it an appointment. If their team is playing at LSU, they want to go to that game. And a lot of South Carolina Nation was saying that it was pretty mid in the house there on Saturday night. So despite the fact that LSU is 5-1, it feels like they are the flimsiest of like the top 10 teams right now. Obviously, that's why they're ranked number 10. I understand that, but I think that we got a couple more losses coming. I think Vandy could serve them one. I'm pretty confident that both A&M and Alabama will as well. And then we'll just kind of set up a bit of a mid-off there at the end of the season between LSU and Oklahoma. So I'm out on this LSU team.
Oh, yeah, I'm right there with you. This is the biggest pretender, I think, in the country right now. LSU's offense, I can't believe they're ranked 45th in that metric because this offense is just not good. Like, let's just face it, they're not good. They have yet to score more than 20 points against a Power 4 school this season. That is awful. With a guy in Garrett Nussmeier who was like one of the favorites and at the top of the leaderboard to win the Heisman, he's a turnover machine. Like, I'm sorry, like 2 more picks Saturday night against South Carolina. LSU's got a bunch of problems. This defense, I think we probably overrated them after that Clemson game because Clemson, like, unless they're playing Boston College or North Carolina, they don't score on anybody. So LSU's a pretender. This schedule's too tough. They're going to have multiple losses down the stretch here. They're probably going to finish at like 8-4. And yeah, that seat might get a little warm there for Mr. Kelly down there in the Bayou. So I'm out, big time out on LSU. All right, Monday Cope, Monday Smoke, John. What do you got for us this week?
All right, if I'm a Sooners fan, just going right back to Oklahoma, Texas hadn't played their A game yet this year. I don't even know if Saturday totally qualifies as their A game, but they weren't going to be as bad as they've been over the course of the whole season. They were, of course, going to be up for this game. It's the Red River game, and they're coming off the bad loss. Like you caught Texas at a bad time, and again, John Mateer's hand is just totally biffed. So like you lose that game, it's disappointing, but I think that you can rationalize, you can cope about it a little bit, that there were just things that were a little bit out of your control on Saturday afternoon. But that's the best I can do for them because again, that's the way that their schedule shapes up the rest of the way. It's gonna be tough for the Sooners. If I'm Mizzou, you feel good. You fought hard. You covered it against Alabama. If you got a 3.5, you had a chance to win it at the end. You ran. What your blueprint, like what's been your identity on offense, actually did work on Saturday. Like it's good to see something that it's so dominant through the first 5 or 6 games of the season. If you're Missouri, where you're just running all over everybody. Nice to see it get battle tested and hold up. So I think you can kind of hang your hat on the Hardy Pribula run game here the rest of the season. And that pass rush is nasty. Damon Wilson, I miss that guy. He's a beast. So that's you're still, if you're Mizzou and you have a couple of statement games left, like you don't feel good that you lost to Alabama at home, but like you feel like you can hang with anybody. And then Auburn, if I'm an Auburn fan, I'm saying the refs stole that game. Don't pay attention to the 40 yards and 0 points in the second half. Definitely don't bring that up. It was all about the refs, obviously, if you're Auburn. That's certainly the cope that I have seen on the internet.
And your head coach totally didn't just basically give up either. Like that didn't happen.
Freeze is such a bum, dude. That guy's a snake oil salesman if I've ever seen one. The Monday Smoke, Indiana. You can stop doubting us now. Absolutely. We no longer will we kind of refer to them as a Cinderella. They are Cinderfellas, they're the real deal. They're serious, and the way the schedule sets up the rest of the way, I'm feeling like an 11 or 12 win Indiana, which is crazy, but there we go. If I'm Texas,
one more point though in Indiana. Now that they've entered this category, now I'm going to expect them to show up every week and when they play these big boys. So now the expectations are arrived, and I think that is the one angle with this team where you might look like, okay, how are they going to handle now being expected to hang with the big boys going forward?
Yes, going from the hunters to the hunted is an interesting transition that good teams have to go through. If I'm Texas, obviously it's awesome to beat Oklahoma and kind of like get the stink of the swamp off of you. I think Texas might have found their blueprint. Like it's not as fun and as exciting as everyone would have hoped coming into the season, but you dominate with defense. You don't make mistakes on offense. You get enough done on that side of the ball, and you kind of move on to the next game. So if I'm Texas, it might not be the most exciting thing in the world, but I think the blueprint is there for how Texas can stack some wins here down the stretch. And then Pitt, how about them? Pitt going into Florida State and beating them as a 10.5-point underdog. Second career start for Mason Heinschel, who, going on the road in Tallahassee, that was crazy. Like, he was balling. I think he had almost 380 total yards. He got stripped in the open field on a run that was just hilarious. It looked like a basketball steal, like in transition or something like that. Buddy, you gotta hold it higher and tighter than that. But Pitt, they got Desmond Reed back, and that obviously really kind of boosted this offense as a whole. So Pitt, again, we circle that game against Miami at the end of the season. Like, Miami, they can't look ahead to anything. They got to keep their nose to the grindstone. But that Pitt game, I think as long as Heinschel keeps this going, Pitt might be like the spoiler there at the end of the season. Maybe not to the extent that, I think that would probably be Miami's only loss. So they're still going to be fine overall, but could be a danger spot there on Black Friday there. But that's those are my smokes and copes.
And it's not just Miami either. Like, go look at Pitt's schedule to close this out. They close out home Notre Dame, at Georgia Tech, home Miami. Pitt is going to be in a lot of big-time spots down the stretch there in the month of November, and they have a chance to really be a thorn to the side of some of these schools that have big-time playoff aspirations, ACC championship game aspirations. That's going to be really interesting to watch down the stretch, and that might be that might be like the toughest closeout, 3-game schedule that anybody outside of the SEC has this year. That is nuts. And even me as a Notre Dame fan, when I'm looking at this schedule here, I'm ooh, at Pitt in November, and that's the first game of that 3-game gauntlet there for the Panthers too. So Pitt's gonna be around here the next couple of weeks. So get used to seeing Pittsburgh football, and I'm not talking about the Steelers, on your TV screens going down the stretch here.
Yeah, they I think they're going to play giant killer. I think that they've got at least one win out of that 3 remaining flourish against Tech, Notre Dame, or Miami. I think they're going to pick one of those guys off.
Yeah, and I love Pat Narduzzi. He's a URI guy. Shout out University of Rhode Island. So I wouldn't totally hate it if they picked some of those teams off. Hopefully not the Irish, but we'll get there when we get there. All right, so looking ahead quickly to Week 8, we are over an hour, guys, so thank you very much if you have stuck with us. Don't forget to make sure you are subscribed and following the show on our platforms there. But we got another doozy of a week coming up here. And, John, you pulled up some of the metrics for this weekend that you want to quickly run through here. We got toss-ups, coin flips, however you want to phrase it across the country here. So please, take it away.
Yeah, man, this week is going to be a bloodbath. We have so many good games on tap. All the good matchups are expected to basically be one-score games, and that's right. Reflected in the spreads, but SP Plus takes it a step further with their projections. So Georgia Tech, actually a road underdog at Duke, plus 2.5. SP Plus has Georgia Tech escaping by the skin of their teeth by 0.3 points. LSU, similar deal. They're road underdogs at Vandy. That's got Vandy narrowly winning that one by less than a full point. Georgia, 6.5-point favorites against Ole Miss. I was surprised to see that line. I think me and some pals were guessing the line during Saturday night or after Saturday night's game. We thought at most Georgia minus 2.5, minus 3.5, but Georgia minus 6.5, and SP.
It was at 7 too.
Okay, yeah, I think that's going to come down. Georgia 1.8 to win that game, according to Bill. Bama, Tennessee, third Saturday in October. Bama only going to win that game by 2.2 points, according to SP Plus. They are 7.5-point favorites. Notre Dame and USC. Notre Dame just by a field goal. Notre Dame right now favored by a little bit over a touchdown. In the Holy War, Utah, BYU. Utah expected to get the win there, give BYU their first loss, but only by half a point. So again, we're talking razor thin margins for error on these games this weekend. It's gonna be insane.
It's awesome. Can't wait to talk about it on Thursday. We clearly have a lot to break down and get through when we get there. Week 7 was a little tough. I think we went 5-9. Just some bad spots there for us.
We got Pitt though.
We did. Actually, Pitt and Iowa. So one thing I will take away, John, when we're seeing eye to eye, I feel like we've done pretty well this season. We did go 2-0 on our mutual games. So that's good. We'll take that away. The rest of the board, not so much. I bet on Oregon State. I am sorry. We won't be doing that again. They fired their coach.
I had an OK State one, yeah. I mean, so we were feeling ourselves after going 7-8.
It happens. It absolutely happens. And then we had some other ones like the Western Michigan total. We missed by a point because Ball State just couldn't get the ball over midfield, basically, which was really unfortunate. But looking ahead to Week 8, I do want to add one play here on Monday. Let's take Georgia Tech +3. There's a 3 on DraftKings right now. Haynes King's healthy. I like Georgia Tech a lot here. I don't know. I've come way down on this Duke team ever since they got drubbed by Illinois. So I like Georgia Tech to keep things rolling here and go on the road and pick up a win. You can grab them at +130 on the money line, but I'll take the 3 points just to be safe here.
There we go. Okay, I like that. A little early taste here. But it's going to be that's a little nooner on Saturday. I can't wait for that.
Very good. All right, that's going to do it for us. That's our Week 7 preview or recap show. Excuse me. We will be back on Thursday to preview Week 8. For John, I'm Dan. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Can't even talk anymore. We're going over an hour for the first time. But we will talk to you guys on Thursday.